How would you like to power Unreal Engine through sound and music? How would you like to use Ableton Live and all the power within that to create music to then power your animations and create cool interactive experiences? Well, that's what we're going to do in this tutorial. We're going to take Ableton Live, we're going to hook it up to Unreal Engine, and we're going to explore the possibilities of creating animations within that. Now, this is going to be a multi-part series. I'll do a kind of first episode, which is kind of like getting you started, and then we'll go a bit further to that. We'll set up a more robust solution for creating a kind of like MIDI audio powered kind of like basis of objects within Unreal Engine. And then on from there, I'll create a bunch of tutorials, hopefully, about how to create various types of animation and different graphics that you might be able to use in different circumstances. So hopefully that's interesting, and we'll get started right away. So headphones on, let's go. So we are in Ableton Live here, and there's just a couple of things that we need to do in order to set up being able to send some audio. So to begin with, we need some audio. So we're going to go into packs. I'm going to grab let's grab this one. So this is just like a sort of MIDI track with some drums. That'll work. And then we need a way of sending this audio to Unreal Engine. And there are a couple of objects built in to Ableton. So let's go to Max for Live. You do need Max for Live for this. That's kind of the backbone of everything that works. I'm going to search for OSC, and then we want this OSC send object here. And what this does is it kind of sends any data that we want via OSC to anything really. It doesn't have to be Unreal Engine, but we just happen to be using Unreal Engine because that's a game engine that allows for live animation and cool stuff like that. Right, so we need a couple of things to hook this up because this isn't going to work by default. We need to go to plugins. We want envelope follower. No, not that. Sorry, we want audio effects. We want envelope follower. We'll just put it there. It doesn't matter what order really because it's not like a signal chain. And then we also need let's just get rid of that. We need an audio effect rack because there's a sort of hacky workaround that we need in order to hook these two things up. Because essentially the envelope follower is asking to send its data somewhere and OSC is asking to get the data from somewhere, but they don't hook up to each other, or at least not in this configuration. But there's an easy workaround where we use this macro pad here, and we basically map that to our first macro, and then we'll see what happens when you press play on this. You can see we've got our envelope and it's like affecting this. And just for those that don't know, let's just turn this down a bit. An envelope follower just follows like the volume of the clip or the track. And if we put up the fall, it will kind of add a little bit of smoothing to it, which might be kind of useful depending on what we're trying to do. And we can add delay as well to it, which will delay it by like a given amount, which is you might want that if you want to kind of sync it with something else. We can change the gain as well just to kind of adjust it there, but that's pretty good. Like we're getting good peaks and it's going down to 0 almost. Right. So now we want to get this data into our OSC send. So we'll map that to the same thing and nothing happens. I've figured out that there's one thing you need to press, which is this little button here, send it over to remote. And now we can see that it's sending data via OSC. And there's a couple of things we need to do on this to set it up. We need to know our IP, and we also just need to give it an address. So the way to get your IP is to, I wonder if I can show you down here actually. Let's go down here, press the Windows key, Command, and then let's go IP config. And then this is the IP that you want here. Like that's the IP of your like local machine. Like it does sometimes work with this kind of local host IP, but I've found it to be a little bit tricky. So I'm just going to type my IP in. Your mileage might vary on that, but I know this works. So we've got that, it's sending via that port, and then we're going to call this envelope. Cool. So that is now sending. We are going to save that. Cool. And now it's time to open up Unreal. So I'm just going to pause this, and then we're going to open up Unreal Engine and get what we need. Right, we're going to launch Unreal Engine. We're going to go to Games. We're going to use the third-person blueprint, and then we're going to go, make a new project. Here we go. Let's just check this works. Sweet. Got a normal project. And then we need to build some modules. So the first thing I always like to do is make a new folder. Call this OSC and tutorial. I like to color it just so when I'm coming back to it. By the way, I'm pressing like Control and Spacebar to get this this content browser up. We need a blueprint, just a normal actor. This is going to be our OSC receiver. Chuck that in the level, and then we need to go and edit this. So sorry. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we need to set up a couple of things. So actually, before we do all this, we need to go to Edit up here and Plugins. And then we need to go type in OSC, and then we want this one, Open Sound Control, and restart. Ooh. All right, so back into our OSC receiver. If it comes up with this is kind of like the fact that we saved it without making any changes. So we just need to go to this Open Full Blueprint Editor. And then here we need to right click and just type in OSC server. We need to create an OSC server, hook that up to a begin play. The IP address is the same one as we used earlier, which mine is this one. And the port, I believe, was 2346. And then we need to double check that we've checked that. Like that's a kind of gotcha. If you haven't checked that, it's easy to miss. Like it just won't work. And you're like, why isn't it receiving? It's really annoying. Right, we're going to promote this to a variable. So we've got an instance of our OSC server. We can call on later. And then from there, we need to go bind event to on OSC message received. And then hook that up as well. And then go custom event. Let's go OSC message. There we go. So what's happening here basically is we're setting up an OSC server for Ableton to send to. And then we're kind of like creating an event that will just fire every time we get any kind of OSC message, which is exactly what we want. So we're going to do a little, we're going to get this. We're going to go get message address. And then we're also going to do, we're going to go to string. And then we're just going to test it like this. Actually, we're going to go print string into there. So let's do that. And then let's play this. And then let's go back to Ableton. And there we go. We're getting our slash envelope, which is this address here that we were getting. So it's coming through, we're getting our data, which is great. But there's no data on there, it's just the address. Because what is actually happening is there's a float number on the end of that address, which you can see here. That's what this little thing is, that's actually the data that we're going to use to power any kind of like animation or anything like that. So let's pause that. Let's go back to Unreal Engine. And then in here, we actually need to go get message floats. Or actually, we can get message float as index. Oops, there we go. Because we know it's only the first one, like there isn't another float. We know there's just like one message at the end of it. So we're going to hook that up here. Hook that up here. And then we're going to go append. And then we're just going to put this value on the end of it. And then that should come up with the thing. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit play on this and have it going in the background while we try this out. Here we go, envelope, and then we've got like a float after it, which is going to be the value of the volume that we've got. So we've got our data. Now, all we need to do is create some kind of animation. So let's do just a really simple one, and then I'll show you kind of like how you can use it in a bit more of a complex way. It's quite useful data. So we're going to go to our viewport. We're going to add a sphere, and then we're going to get the sphere in that. We're going to go set scale. Set world scale 3D. Pull out from that. We're going to go lerp. A lerp basically allows you to go to between two values. So it's going to start at 0, or in fact, let's start at 0.5, and then it's going to scale up to like, to 2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use our value here to change that. So that's going to be the alpha. So it's going to go between that based on the data that's coming through. So I can't remember where we put this thing in our scene. Yeah, there it is. Okay, fine. So let's save that, play it. Cool. So you can see that's kind of like going along with the music now. It's like boom, bap, boom, bap. So that is powering an animation. Right, let's do something a little bit more complex than that. Let's do some stuff with particles, because particles always look kind of funky. We're going to right click, type in Niagara system. We're going to go create an empty system. Pulse particles, go into that. Right click, add emitter. I like to use this fountain one. Like that's kind of, it's not exactly what we need, but it's kind of has a lot of the basics that we tend to use in these things. So let me just make some space here so you can see what I'm doing. Cool. Right, we want our spawn rate slightly up. We're probably going to put that to like 1,000. In fact, you do want to kind of see what's going on here. We're going to get rid of our gravity. We're going to add velocity, but we just want that to be like from a point, which is fine. So they'll sort of go outwards. We're going to move this down. Actually, we probably only want like about 100 to 200. This still gives it some variety. And then we're going to add this curl noise force on there. Put that up to like 1,000 and then put this frequency down to like 10. So we'll get this like kind of like spidery kind of thing. And then I'm also going to put like a little bit of a pan on it. So it means it like sort of swishes around and changes. Cool. So that's looking kind of cool. But we need some way of controlling this via our sound. So that's where we input some data. So we go, yeah, we need to be in here, user parameters. I'm just going to pause the music a minute. Press the plus button and go float. And then we're going to call this one spawn rate. And then we're going to go float again. And we're going to call this noise strength. Cool. And then we've got these two. And all we need to do is drag them onto the various bits. So this one goes onto your noise strength, which is in your curl noise force. So that's now being controlled by that. And there's nothing because we set it at 0. Let's put that back up to a default of 1,000. And then let's go into our spawn rate here. And that's going to be 0 again. So there's nothing coming out, but let's put that up to like 1,000. So we're getting some stuff there. Cool. And if we now go over to our Osc receiver and go Niagara particle system, it's actually already picked it up. So yeah, you'll see it's already going to be coming out. If that doesn't happen, you just need to go into here and the Niagara system asset, you just need to find the one that we made or type it in. Because yeah, unless it's like clicked on, it won't come up. But you can see it in our space now. It's going to be coming up, but it's not being animated yet. It'll just sort of appear. Let's just play the music and show that. So yeah, you can see that's just doing its thing, which is fine. Let's go back to Unreal Engine. Cool. But all you need to do is drag out your Osc particles in the same way as we did with the sphere. And then from here we go, I think it's like, well, let's just type in float actually. Set, what is it? Set float parameter. Yeah, it's that one. And then we just need to type in the same thing as we had on here. So you can either do that or you can copy. So let's go copy display name. Boom. And then let's do another one for the, got to hook these up. Remember to hook everything up. And then we're going to call this, what was it? The noise strength. Cool. And then we've got some parameters here, and that's the same parameter in there. So they're both set to 0 at the moment. So if we press play on this, not going to see anything because they're both set to 0. But if we do a lerp, and then we go spawn rate, so yeah, from 0 actually, and that's probably go to like 5,000. And then on this one, we can use a lot of lerps throughout this basically, because we're always tend to use like a float value to like control some other stuff. And then the noise strength, I believe it was like 1,000, wasn't it? So let's maybe put it to 2,000. The only reason I'm going like over the default is that this doesn't hit 1 that often. Like it'll go between 0 and 1. and it will sort of be in that middle range. So if 1,000 is a good value and halfway is 1,000, like that's kind of going to be the average, which is a good place to be. All right, we'll just hook these up and then see what's going on. Yeah, that's looking kind of cool. So yeah, it's like spawning them when we do when we get like a beat. And we can control this a little bit in Ableton as well. So let's go over to Ableton and make this like smaller so we can kind of see what's going on. And then let's put this over here. Oops. Where are we? Ableton. Yeah, sweet. So this is where this effect, like we'll do stuff to this. You can see like the animation is like a lot more snappy now. But if I put the fall up, like you're going to get like more of a smooth thing. You see it more in the sphere actually. And if we put the rise on there as well, like it's going to sort of smooth it out like massively, which is kind of useful. Like it's a useful control to have here. You could do that in Unreal Engine as well, but like this could be used more as like a performance thing. Which could be super cool. So let's just put that down to there, and then let's put this down to here. And just while we're here, I'm basically going to just make some adjustments to this this particle system. So I'm actually going to add the drag. I think that will make a bit more of an effect. And then I'm also going to like up this one to like 3,500. Oops. And I think we'll see more of a difference here. Yeah, you can kind of see it. It's like we're getting like when the beat hits, like we're getting much more of a an effect on the thing. Stand this up a bit. So yeah, we've got like an interactive thing. Other things we could do is maybe just add a collision to this because they're sort of hitting the floor. It looks a bit weird. Have I just crashed it? No, it's fine. There we go. Now they sort of scatter on the floor, which is kind of cool. And they will actually sort of bounce off us as the character as well, which is kind of cool. But yeah, that's the basics of it. That's using like the envelope follower. Let's make this bigger. So yeah, hopefully that was useful and interesting. You can kind of see where this could go in the future. And what I'll do in future tutorials is set up much more of a dynamic system that is kind of like more modular, that allows you to build different types of animation, use lots of more input sources. This is using audio at the moment. The next tutorial I'll do is where we use MIDI data, so we can use like ones and zeros, on and off data, as well as the velocity of the MIDI to power things, because that's a lot more precise with the type of animation that you might want to do. And then when they're used in conjunction with the envelope data, it's very, very powerful for animation. It doesn't have to be volume, like we're just using an envelope follower, but it could be when you're adjusting performance things, like filter sweeps and stuff, like could really, really change like some cool envelope stuff in there. So there's lots of ideas, and we'll explore those like down the line with what I'm going to call like graphics modules. And these are going to be like bits of animation systems that you can just put into your scene and have it powered by whatever music that you want. So hopefully that was interesting, and see you in the next one.